Good morning, everyone. Welcome to ISCORE. My name is Tiffany Contreras. I'm a senior double majoring in criminal justice and sociology. We will begin today's conference with a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the land on which we sit and occupy today as the traditional and ancestral home of the Omaha, Bakoji, Ottawa, Missouri, Iowa tribes of Kansas and Nebraska, Bakoji, Okichi, and Meskwaki tribes, and other indigenous nations of this land. Without them, we would not have access to this gathering and to this dialogue. We take this opportunity to thank and honor the original caretakers of this land. I would now like to invite INCORE ISCORE Office Director, Japana Kellogg, to the stage for our welcome and opening remarks.
Thank you, Tiffany. Good morning. Good morning in the back, way back there. All right, they waved. Oh my goodness. My name is Japana Kellogg, and I have the pleasure to provide leadership to the INCORE ISCORE office. I'm excited to welcome you to this year's Thomas L. Hill Iowa State Conference on Race and Ethnicity. Before I do my welcome, I want to play you a short clip from this past year's trip to Portland, Oregon.
You can love me or not, there's no such thing as sin. Let it all come right in. I wanna make some mistakes, I wanna sleep in the mud, I wanna swim in the flood till I'm done. I like whiskey on ice, I like sun in my eyes. I wanna burn it all down, so let's start a fire. I wanna be lost, so lost that I'm found, naked and laughing with my blood on the ground. To fear, know that I'll be ready when the devil is near. I am here, I am here. All of it's wrong, but I'm still right here. I don't have the answers, but the question is clear. Let me ask you, where's everybody go when they go? Where's everybody go when they go? Where's everybody go when they go? Let me ask you, where's everybody go when they go? Where's everybody go when they go? Where's everybody go when they go? Let me ask you. May the light be upon me, may I feel in my bones that I am enough, I can make anywhere home. My fingers are clenched, my stomach's in knots, my heart it is racing, but afraid I am not. Afraid I am not. I am here, I am here. I've already seen the bottom, so there's nothing to fear. I know that I'll be ready when the devil is near.
again. Today we got done with Encore Day number 2. I totally feel more hopeful and empowered than yesterday. Yesterday I felt more overwhelmed, I would say, because we were just getting all of this information that we might not have been aware of. And it was just like something completely different. Today I feel like I have started to turn those wheels of action and starting to realize how I can tear down the walls that are dividing the human race. And of course, this is a process. It's not just something that happens, but it's a process of learning and also unlearning. It's a process of questioning the rules that we are so far have conformed to with society. It's a process of valuing the power that is found in everybody's stories. And in the end, it's just a process of coming together and lifting others and celebrating the diversity in each individual's own identity. So I'm, again, hopeful that this is just a great experience, and I'm excited to see what the rest of the conference is going to look like. Hello again, Encore Day number 3. It has definitely been one of those days with the most strong emotions. Everything, all this information that we're getting from Encore just keeps coming together, and things just keep building up, which is great. And we know we are creating something bigger. Just by being here and our presence is creating something bigger. But it's hard because we still have our doubts inside us. We want to influence the world with what we know and what we want the world to be. But it's hard because you feel that even though you're speaking up, you're not heard. And even though you're trying and trying, you're not heard. And it's just like, how do we take this outside of Encore ISCORE? Outside of ISU? We want to make it something bigger. We want change to be bigger than what it is. And I'm just guessing like this is something that we will figure out throughout this whole process. So let's hope for the best.
That is so pretty. That's beautiful.
Hello again. We have come to the last day of the National Conference on Race and Ethnicity 2019, and I just cannot explain how unforgettable this experience has been for me and for everybody that has been here as well. So I'm gonna let my friends tell you why you should come to ISCORE 2020 next year in New York City.
Describe ISCORE in one word. One word. Influential.
Inclusive.
Connected.
Impactful.
Liberating. Affirming.
Motivated.
Empowering. Changing. Inspirational.
Enlightened.
Connection.
Rejuvenating. Fulfilling. Liberating.
Newsflash. Reaffirming. Real. Life-changing. Authentic.
Enlightened.
Impactful.
Wow.
No words.
That concludes the conference. You can go home now. I say that jokingly, but I think Javalis sums it up. This project I've been working with for a long time, and I'm going a little bit off script, so stay with me, Martino. But for the most part, that's an example of working with our students. And that's the part that I enjoy. So I need to get back on script so Joel won't win this bet. And the bet has to do with it being alumni, being students that I worked with in the past, and I'm trying not to have a Jordan moment. So those that know Jordan's speeches, he has tears coming down his eyes and whatnot. But it's really an emotional experience to see it come full circle. 20 years runs fast. With students that we have here, they may not have been born, but we have some students here that have walked the walls, walked the sidewalks, sat in the classes, had some of the same challenges, and they persevered. But I think the big thing that made the difference is we worked with them and we gave them tools and strategies. So when I stepped off stage, I stepped over to the right and I could see all the way to the back, and that was a little overwhelming because when we first started, we were in the Great Hall and it was 160 people. So I think we've come a long way with our efforts and energy. And we shut down registration for the first time in history at 1,278. So this conference is a little different because it's the 20th anniversary of the Thomas L. Hill Iowa State Conference on Race and Ethnicity. 2015, we introduced the half-day professional conference, and that's just the professional staff and faculty, some grad students. And that first year, we had 135. Last year, on Wednesday, we shut down registration again at 300. In 2016, Dr. Martino Harmon submitted an idea to rename the ISCORE conference to the Thomas L. Hill Iowa State Conference on Race and Ethnicity. That's a milestone. In the same year, we introduced the Iowa State Champions concept, and my intentions behind that was to give a voice and an opportunity for our academic and our colleges to play a role, and that's been very successful, and it's evolving. 2017, Dr. Martino Harmon supported a standalone office. Now, this was big because I had been doing this for about 16 years as a side job. That small 5% duties as assigned. But it never felt that way because I enjoyed it. And it took outside eyes, and I remember the conversation, Martino said, well, he's doing a good job, but if he leaves, we're not going to find someone to do both jobs. And so we need to do something. So I appreciate your vision. We talk about vision, and I think a vision is easy. We all have them. I have them all the time. However, the tough part is implementing, and there's an even tougher part in supporting. So the vision was set 20 years ago. So let's give Thomas Hill a round of applause. Let's stand up, stand up. Okay. And also, Martino for supporting that vision, and President Winterstein. Martino and I had a conversation in a one-on-one, and he said, well, the students don't see ISCORE as a part of the university. And I said, I need to do a better job. I mean, 20 years of going to different cities, working with students and whatnot, it didn't come out of my pocket. I don't make enough money. But for the most part, I think this is the fabric of an opportunity, working with our students, hearing our students, in order to make the campus more accepting and more embracing of all the students we bring here. 2019, we implemented the action plan in the program book. Okay, and that's on page 31. Okay, got a question for you. How many people attended ISCORE last year? Show of hands. Okay, that's quite a few people. We got some people that weren't here. How many people use your action plan? Show of hands. Okay, there's a few. There's a few. You're making me look bad. But what I want to leave you with is, or what I want you to get out of this year, this conference, the testimonies, the information, it's not about taking the whole campus to the next conference. And actually, that's in the original proposal. Dr. Hill said, it's a great conference, but we can't take everybody. Let's take a group with a purpose. That's why we've lasted 20 years. So I have a goal, and I think it's attainable. It's bite-sized, but if those that come to ISCORE approach ISCORE like they're in core, then you enhance your staff meetings with 3 questions. Hey, did you go to ISCORE? Yes. What a couple takeaways did you got? And then after that, what's our next step? Does that make sense to everyone? And so, as I say, the conference has evolved, and there are opportunities here. Joelle and I have a roadshow, and we visited with different offices between the last conference and this conference, and having some of those conversations. And you'll be so surprised, people have things right in front of them, but they haven't identified those as opportunities. So give us some time, but if you would like us to come visit your department, I'm sure we have some people that will assist us in this, but I think we can help draw some of those connections. I've been doing the project for 20 years, and some people have asked me why. I would always say the reason is it's the people that I've had an excellent opportunity to enjoy leading, influencing, and supporting on a fantastic journey. A few years ago, the assistant director, Rachel Wagner, in the Department of Residence, she said to me, Japana, it's kind of like you're the keeper of the flame. Flame, vision. I like flame, it sounds cooler. But the most important thing is the project wouldn't be what it is without you all. We take 20 students, we work with those students, and they produce 5 sessions. The rest of the sessions are from the community. The attendance is from the community. So there's no magic formula other than participating, engaging, and being involved. If you do me one favor, and I'll close here, help me in showing appreciation for the people that are in the front line helping with the process. The planning committee, the professional presenters, the student scholars, the over 45 volunteers, the Memorial Union staff, and in addition, and more specifically, because I can see him in the way in the back of the room, is the ISU dining, Muhammad Ali. And I say this because Muhammad said, if you seat them, I'll feed them. So he's been working with me to make sure everyone gets served. But can you give them a round of applause? I'm going to skip a section to get back on track. I got this last piece. I also really want to thank Jamie Pollard, not Jamie Pollard. I thank you too, but I want to thank Jenny Pollard, who works in central office and has been patient and understanding with helping me pull my vision together. If you look at the back of the program, it's not the back, but the last pages. It's designed to give you the history and evolution of the project. It starts with the first group. It has milestones. It has quotes. And we'll have the program online, but I would suggest you keep this one. This is my 20-year annual, performance report, so help me with that. I also want to thank Jenny for, like I said, helping me pull this vision together, and then she gave the work to her student worker. Haley Springman helped get this taken care of, but what Jenny did is it wasn't without support, freedom, and I think that's the biggest part. We have very talented students, but they need support and they need freedom. And I said this once before, and I don't think it landed the way it should have, but I said our students want to be heard. It's our job teaching them how to be heard. So this concludes my morning remarks, and at this time, I want to introduce one of our ISCORE scholars, Nadine, that's going to do our introduction. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nadine Veasley, and I am a sophomore studying microbiology. After returning from ISCORE, we continued our discussion about race and ethnicity in University Studies 321. As a part of that class, we created lyrical expressions about our own experiences about race and ethnicity. I would like to share mine with you. It is titled, "Do You Feel It?" As of the 2019 fall semester, there are 4,169 students in the College of Agriculture and Life Science here at Iowa State University. 117 of those are microbiology majors. 4 of those are Black. I am one of those 4. I stick out. I'm an imposter in my own body. Only on paper I belong. My grades, my test scores, the way I string words together to create sentences, the way I put sentences together to write this poem. You see me, but they don't really see me. Yes, I'm Black, but skin is not the only thing that defines me. Please remember my intellect. Do I belong here? Does my melanin overpower my qualifications? Is this not comfortable for you? Because I'm not comfortable here. This is imposter syndrome. Black is always something that I've known, but black has been something I've tried to hide, tried to unlearn, tried to whitewash like the history books I was given. But then I learned black is beautiful like the curls of an afro, is strength like mothers of those deceased black boys, is determination like civil rights movement, is love like cocoa butter. Black is my skin. Black is the dirt from concrete I rose, yet my love is still deeply rooted. I keep my feelings underground, but even Harriet led underground to freedom. I am a leader. I am a black woman pursuing a college degree in a STEM field. Every step I take is one of resistance. Every move I make is an earthquake in a crooked system. I carry the weight of my ancestors on my shoulders. Their weight is not something heavy, but something of strength, of power, and encouragement. My ancestors were not allowed to learn, to read, or to speak. I speak with emancipation, a proclamation that melanin makes me more qualified to be here. And I'm sorry if I make you uncomfortable, but how do you expect to grow if you're not a little bit out of your comfort zone? Please tell me, do you feel the imposter syndrome? Thank you. I would now like to invite President Wendy Winterstein to the stage with opening remarks.
Thank you for recognizing Nadine's comments. Will you give her another round of applause? It's my pleasure to be here to help welcome you to ISCORE today. We have an extraordinary program. This has really been an extraordinary week of wonderful events led by Japana Kellogg and his team and many others. Last night we had our Symphony of Diversity with Jonathan Govius. Many of you were over in Stevens Auditorium for that. That was truly, again, an exceptional experience. On Thursday, we had the honor of naming Music Hall Simon Estes Music Hall in honor of his extraordinary career and being one of the very first black opera singers in the nation and the world. So a great week of successes and celebrations. I want to begin, though, by thanking Japana. This conference takes a tremendous amount of time and effort to bring together. We know Japana has a great team working with him, and he recognized that team. But I think we need to ask Japana to stand and to be recognized by all of us. Japana, would you please stand? And then I want to go back and further embarrass Tom Hill a little bit. So I think we have to recognize, again, the great leadership that Tom Hill provided for Iowa State University in countless ways over his time here. And it wasn't just Tom, but it was his beautiful wife, Billy, too. We all know that we have partners, spouses, supporters that help us. So could we have Tom and Billy both stand and be recognized again? Thank you. And because it does take a community and a team, I want to recognize some additional individuals today. Martino Harmon, our Senior Vice President for Student Affairs, the leadership he provides every day for our students, for our community as a whole, is truly exceptional. Martino, please stand and be recognized. And of course, you all know that our Vice President for Diversity and Inclusion, Dr. Reg Stewart, sits with us at the table almost every day talking about how we further meet our goal of having the most welcoming and inclusive land-grant university in the nation. Reg, where are you? I didn't see you. There you are. Reg, please stand and be recognized. And I want to tell a little story about Reg before I go on for my further recognitions, and that is that truly it was Reg's leadership in coming forward, I think, and I'm going to look at Reg, back in 2016, maybe, Reg, that said, we need to look at Music Hall, we need to recognize Simon Estes. And so it was Reg way back then that said, this is an action that Iowa State needs to take. And Reg worked so closely with our Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, Beata Schmidtman, but it was truly Reg's creativity and innovation that said, this is an honor that we need to bestow. So Reg, thank you again for making sure we got that job done. Thank you again. So we have some honored guests with us today. Ames Mayor John Hala, officers from the University of California, Berkeley, and our ISCORE alumni scholars. We have several alumni scholars who have come back to share their experiences, and we look forward to hearing from them as part of our luncheon keynote panel. A round of applause for all of these honored guests. We've had a lot of conversations this year. We know that our history, though, is embedded in a place where the very first president of Iowa State University, Adonijah Welch, said that we would educate everyone at Iowa State. We would welcome everyone, men and women, regardless of race, so that everyone that was willing to come here and work hard would have the chance to achieve their full personal and academic potential. That has been our history, and that is what we need to be today. President Welch stated that the greatest obstacle to reform is prejudice. And he noted that prejudice is based on ignorance. And that was way back in 1869. At Iowa State, we believe in the power of education to effect positive change. We believe in the power of education to overcome ignorance, to overcome hate, and to create a better world for everyone. We know, we all know, everyone in this room knows that we have had despicable acts of racism, discrimination, and bigotry occur this year. And we are appalled by the stories and experiences that have been shared by our students, by our faculty and staff, and by citizens in this community. We also know that ISCORE is a critically important part of how we raise awareness and we work together to take action to improve our university and our community. And as president, I believe deeply in the strength and commitment of our campus and our community to reject and condemn racism and discrimination and to uphold our principles of community that are about respect, cooperation, honesty, empathy. We are so much stronger when we work together, and together we are greater than the sum of our parts. I'm so pleased to see the way that our campus is united to champion change. Japana mentioned that a few years ago he started the ISCORE Champion Project, and this is an opportunity to recognize colleges or campus units that have committed to spending the next year focused on increasing diversity education, creating opportunities for dialogue on race and ethnicity, and expanding opportunities for the success of our underrepresented populations. Because this is the 20th anniversary, the planning team decided to allow for 4 champions this year. Would the representatives please come forward as I call your name? The Graduate College, led by Dean Bill Graves. The College of Veterinary Medicine, led by Dean Dan Grooms. The Iowa State University Alumni Association, led by President and CEO Jeff Johnson. And the Iowa State University Foundation, led by President and CEO Larissa Holtmeyer Jones. Please join me on stage, and let's recognize each of these individuals for being a champion, an ISCORE champion. Thank you. Thank you very much. So moving on, I look forward to hearing our morning keynote speaker, Vijay Kanalagala, and I'm very excited for the keynote luncheon panel. So thank you all for being here. It's my pleasure to be a part of this important program and to welcome you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Winterstein. Hello, good morning, everybody. Thank you. My name is Yabelis Marin Castro. I am a sophomore in animal ecology, and it is my sincere pleasure to introduce our morning speaker this morning, Dr. Vijay Kanagala. Vijay Kanagala, who earned his PhD from Iowa State University, is an associate professor of secondary and higher education and coordinator of the Higher Education and Student Affairs program in the School of Education at Salem State University. A former student affairs practitioner with extensive experience in multicultural student affairs, social justice education, and diversity programming and training. Kanagala's primary research engages with 3 critical areas of higher education: college access and success of first-generation limited-income students, collegiate experiences of students of colors, and employing spirituality and contemplative education pedagogy in student affairs preparation programs. A thought leader in contemplative pedagogy and education, Kanagala endeavors to connect the heart and the mind of each learner in a classroom community to ensure holistic student development. His teaching and learning pedagogy is not only about working with students to cultivate skills and knowledge to be competent student affairs professionals, but is also about creating a transformative classroom experience that invites an ethic of care, compassion, and empathy, while addressing social, racial, economic, environmental justice issues. Lastly, he wanted to make sure that I mentioned that he is the 3rd son of his mother. So please, yes. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Vijay Kanagala.
Ooh. We should go with that music. How is everyone doing? Good? I still have a trio bottle from Iowa State from 10 years ago. Give me a minute. I have a few things here that I need to sort out. I came by last night. I came yesterday. I flew in from Boston, and I wanted to come to campus. It's been eight and a half years since I've been on campus. So I came, and I just wanted to be, the invisible person just walking on campus, talking to folks. Because when I used to be here, when we had alumni come, and these are like older folks, retired, just reminiscing about everything. I used to sit by Sloss house, and they would talk about all the wonderful things that happened in the 50s and the 60s. And I felt like that yesterday, because I went into the bookstore, and this young man was helping me, and then I felt like I was telling him stories from 20 years ago. And then he was shocked that we still validated tickets for parking back then. So he was like, "Wow!" Right? So it felt that way. But I'm excited to be here. A very good morning to everyone here. when I was here, we coined the term cyclones of color. That was something that the Multicultural Student Affairs Office did. And so I'm going to say a very special good morning to my fellow cyclones of color on this campus. And again, when I came in yesterday, I was roaming around MU, trying to remember different things, memories that I've had in the Great Hall, in the ballroom, in the Oak Room, the Sunroom. And I was like, wait, let me go up. I think Japan's office is in the building, and I'm sure they're still working. So I went by for a quick chat in case they were there. And I think we were there for like 3 hours. I was like, okay, I need to go get dinner. So we left. But when I came down and I was walking, I was like, wait a minute, why are all these panels taken off? Why are there all these tables set up? Because when Japan mentioned it was the sunroom, I wasn't part of ISCORE ENCORE at that time, but I was part of the ISCORE ENCORE project the year after. And we always did it in the sunroom. And so part of me got nervous. I was like, who are all these people that are coming today? And I was like, I don't have a big speech. I mean, it's the same old that we've been talking about for hundreds of years. What am I going to say something new that is going to change things? And I had a conversation with Japan about things that I could talk about, because the morning speaker has always been somebody who is like on campus, and I'm not on campus. But I keep in touch now. I know everything that's happening here. I have friends who teach in the higher education program, in the School of Education. And I have friends in the community here. So I'm pretty aware of what's happening on a minute by minute basis. And so I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. I've never seen ISCORE this big. So Japan, thank you for letting me be part of it on the 20th anniversary, but for what you've done. Like I know we talked about this last night. This is amazing, right? When I was a grad student, and I would get so frustrated with things, because Japan had his way of doing things that was super collaborative. And I was like, I don't care for people to be collaborative. I just need work to be done, right? But Japan would like sit down, counsel me, talk about it. We'll have more conversations. And I'd be like, Japan, we could have done this 3 minutes ago, 3 hours ago, right? But this is what it looks like to have a collaborative process, right? That's the wisdom that I hope I take from here, but also people that don't know what this is, because this wouldn't be possible if all the partners on campus were not part of it. So a deep gratitude for that. I have a few notes, but I also know something that I always joke on my campus, the different places that I've worked, is when I used to work in the MSA office, so I'm looking at my trying not to do that. I have my tissues here. Carmen and Lynn. Where's Lynn? There's Lynn. So the three of us used to work together. Janira is not here, another person that used to work in that office. It was chaos all the time, right? It was chaos. I don't think anybody will actually be proud to say that it was chaotic in an office, but I think we embraced it because we understood that our office, by the nature of the work that we did, the diversity of thought, diversity of action, the diversity of who we were, the diversity of the backgrounds that we came from, meant that it had to be chaotic, right? It took us a minute to understand that, but when we understood that, it worked. It worked magic for all of us. So when I am on my campus and I'm talking to students and students are presenting, I'm always like, yeah, never going to be on time. I'm not going to stick to my notes. I can prepare a PowerPoint and it won't be the one that I'm going to use. So I was sitting here and thinking, you know what? I have a PowerPoint, I have some photos that I can share, but I can also speak from my heart because this is so deeply, I'm deeply connected to this work on this campus. So before I do that, I know we were talking earlier, we kind of laughed when Joella said that I wanted to be, when she read my bio, my mom used to live with me when I was here. She would she would come to every freaking thing on this campus. Like, she would go, I mean, all the students, she would cook for the students, she would have them over to an apartment. My mom and dad separated when I was in grad school, and then my mom moved in with me. She still lives with me for the last 15 years. And so when I told her that I was coming here, I actually didn't tell her that I was coming to Iowa. I just said, well, I have a trip. She was, somebody told her. She's got my friend, she has more friends on Facebook than I do that are connected to Iowa State. So somebody told her that I was coming to Iowa State, and she was like gently nudged. And I said, yeah, I'm going, but you're not going with me. Because if you go, everybody's going to talk to you, right? Because she has that many friends in this community, and she's always felt like this was home for her. So when we used to walk around Ada Hayden, or go to Grace Lake and up in Des Moines and take walks, she would always talk about how she never imagined being an Indian woman who wore a sari. To this day, she will never change into Western clothes, thinking, I would never imagine living in Iowa when I was a little girl in a village in India, right? And then a few years ago, we moved to Vermont, and then she would say, what happened? I thought Iowa was different, but now Vermont, of all places, like, so we lived in Vermont for 5 years, and I live in Boston. I teach at Salem State University in the Higher Education Student Affairs program, and I coordinate that program. So if there are any undergrad students who are thinking about going to grad school, I am recruiting students. So I am your guy. You should talk to me after this. If you want to talk to me right now, we can go talk. Somebody else can do the keynote, but I'm looking for students. We talked about land acknowledgement today. Now, we acknowledge the land, but I also want to acknowledge my native land, right? Because sometimes land acknowledgements to me are performative, right? We perform. People that actually might share the information, might retain it. People who hear it don't necessarily take it in. It doesn't become part of you, right? So I want to take a minute to acknowledge my native land, which is the native land that I come from, which is in India. My parents are Telugu and belong to what was the former Indian state, unified state of Andhra Pradesh, which is now, a few years ago, got divided into two states, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. And I happen to be born in a small town called Sirpur in the state of Telangana. And so now our family is like split up in terms of states. Before it was one, but now we talk about two different states in our family. And when I was about 6 months old, my family moved from that state. When I say the land of the Telugus, we speak that language. That's our native tongue, right? But when I was 6 months old, my family moved to another state in India called Tamil Nadu, which is the land of the Tamil, right? And so imagine, there's no other way for me to explain this. I'll give you a Western way of understanding this. Imagine if you're French and your family moved to Germany and you have to speak a different language, right? And so that's what my family did. They didn't speak the language of the Tamil, and I grew up with that language. So up until now, I've been mixing up those two languages, and it was probably about a few months ago when I was at Costco and I was saying something to my mom, and then my mom corrected me and she goes, well, that's like, you're using the wrong word. And I was like, 45 years, you tell me now? Right? So I mix up those two languages, and I feel like I've created my own language, but those are the two languages that I most identify with, that are native to me. And of course, India was colonized by the British, right, for 300 years. So as part of that legacy, we speak English there too, right? And so I grew up with English, and as a kid whose parents didn't speak the local language, and I didn't speak the native language of my parents, English became the language of my tongue. And I'll show you, when I show if I get to the PowerPoint, I'll show you my first grade, the transcript that I have, I still have it. It's one of those things that I saved. I don't know if I brought it's over there. No, it's over here. I still have it. I went to mostly Catholic schools, So being Hindu, that's an identity that I hold, went to Catholic schools, learned how to say grace. So imagine this, right? Having dinner, and I would insist on us having, saying grace. My mom insists on going to, I think it was in Iowa, on, trying to forget the street now. It's on Highland, but there's a church, I think there's a Baptist church there, and my mom would go there, and she would insist on lighting candles. I'm like, Mom, they're Baptist, they don't light candles. She still did. Never say no to an Indian mother, right? I share all that partly because of what it means to be, as you can imagine now, my family immigrated to the US. So what does it mean to come into a culture where you didn't come here for race? You came here for economic success, right? My family came here. My dad he was supposed to go to school. Again, these are things that I've learned along the way. There's Harvard University and there's Howard University, right? They're two different schools. One is in Cambridge, one is in DC. One is the first institution, quote unquote, that was created in the US. The other one is an HBCU. My dad, for the longest time, would tell us that he was going to Howard. Well, his pronunciation was a little off, and we all thought, no, it was Harvard. Well, a few years ago, 2014, I believe it was, I was on Howard's campus, and my dad was like, yeah, I was supposed to go there. And I was like, what? Again, things that we didn't understand. And I share this partly because of what it meant for my parents to come to the US. What it meant to immigrate to the US, because for them, it was all about education, right? And when we talk about education, I'll get into that in a second, the amount of time and energy that they spent. I have two older brothers, and myself, I'm the youngest of three siblings. And the amount of time that they put in to make sure that we came here to get an education, but didn't necessarily think about the issues that are common here, right? Issues like race, issues of gender. There might be issues where we are from, but not necessarily in the ways that we think about it in the US. So when we talk about land acknowledgement, I also want to go back to when I say I work at Salem State, I also come in, as a settler colonizer. I'm also living on the land of the Namkeg people, which is also, again, another way to think about why is it important for us to think of these tribes, these nations, these sovereign nations of the Indian people, right? And when I say Indian people, that was also when I came to the US, and this was in Lago Marcino Hall. I think it was my doctoral program at that point. I think Bio said, I have a PhD here, but I also have an MBA and a MED from Iowa State. So I'm a triple degree holder from Iowa State. It was ISCORE. It was 2006. I don't know if how many of you know this, but they also have caucuses based on ethnic origin, right? Racial ethnic origin. And ISCORE, which is the Asian Pacific Islander, the caucus for Asian Pacific Islanders, had an election. I ran for the election, got elected. I come back to campus, and one of our faculty members at that time, dear faculty, I don't hold any grudge, anything like that, but dear faculty member who was like, well, you can't run for that. You're not Asian. And I was like, what? So when I say what, it's those things of surprise, right? What do you mean? I come no. So first I was like, well, you're thinking I'm an immigrant, and that's why. But no, the person was like, well, you're Indian. And it was probably one of those first times that I was like, India is right next to China. Like, these are logical things that I'm thinking about, right? But then I understood that, you know what? People actually don't know these things, right? People don't know history. And so when you talk about land acknowledgement, it is important for us to also understand the context of land grant institutions, right? So there's a quick video that you can watch. Margaret, she's a faculty at UC Riverside, that she she mentions the coming together of the land grant. Justin Morrill, who was the senator from Vermont, where I used to live, in 1862 created the Land Grant Act, the Morrill Act, that gave the federal government enough land to purchase and sell for the formation of land grant institutions. But this faculty here, I'm forgetting her last name now, Margaret Nash, she talks about how when we talk about land grant institutions, we're very proud of it. I am a very proud Iowa State alum. Now, every time Penn State folks come into the room, nope, it's Iowa State. The first land grant, right? When it's Wichita State or Illinois State, it's Iowa State. But part of her work, Professor Nash's work, talks about the dispossession of Indian land that allowed for the creation of land grant institutions, right? While the land grant mission is honorable, there's also a history behind what we do. I'm teaching a history of higher ed course, so that comes to my mind. Again, we're short on time. There are so many things to talk about. And one of the things that I'm going to kind of mention real quick is my entry to the work of race and ethnicity. When I came to the U.S. and I was in grad school here, I started off as a PhD in microbiology, right? So when one of our student leaders mentioned the microbiology, I was like, oh, who, right? But I was also in a program that was failing. I didn't do well. I loved what I did. I was in Chris Minion's lab. I don't know how many of you know of Chris Minion, but he was a faculty here, and his wife was in the provost's office back in the day. And he was one of those people that I still remember him gently calling me and saying, because I started growing a beard, I had long hair. He called me into his office and he said, I don't know how to ask this, but I'm going to ask you. Are you on drugs or something? Now, for a person who doesn't know him, that might sound rude, or like, what the hell is he talking about? But what he was wondering was, here was somebody who had potential, but was failing in whatever I wanted to do, right? I just didn't have the passion. So he saw that, and he said, this is not what you want to do. Go find your passion, and I'll pay you to be in the lab. And in probably one of the best things that happened in my life was somebody believed that I can do something better, right? Now, for a long time, I was like, I felt invalidated, because there was lots of invalidation that happened, right? Like, a lot of us go through that. Microaggressions, invisible, imposter syndrome, you name it, we can come up with all that. But here was somebody who said, go do this. Fortunately, I also happened to meet, somebody told me to go to that man's office, Dr. Hill, right? I still remember walking up to his office because everybody said he had funding. And I was like, I need a job, like help me out, right? But there was nothing around at that time, and so they said, come back. By the time I went up to his office, I took the elevator, and this is a true story. I went up the elevator, and I took the stairs down. You see the beautiful stairs that we have in Berkshire Hall. I took the stairs, and I can come down. The admin in the office, she took the elevator to come down because somebody had just faxed a job. And that was from the Minority Student Affairs office at that time, Janira Pacheco. And she and Dylan Myers were the two people who were talking to me, and I was like, I don't understand what you're trying me to do, but Dylan Myers, he was a faculty here in food sciences, Evie and Dylan Myers, a power couple on this campus, who took me under the wing, and he said, you know what, you have been successful in STEM, and we have a lot of students in the Carver Academy on campus that are kind of going through some challenges, and it looks like you might be one of those people that might understand what they're going through. Do you want to help them? I took the job, not knowing what I was getting into. But that little simple act of kindness was what changed my life, right? And it allowed me to go to ISCORE. begged Japana to go because we only had $600 as grad students to go. It was more than that. It was New Orleans before Katrina. And I went, and I'll tell this last story and I'll stop because it's important for you to hear this. It's important for a lot of folks in this room who are people of color and for white folks to hear this. There were two of my friends. We were 3 grad assistants in that office. Tsetso T, she was from Zimbabwe, and then Carly Rainey, who was African American from Chicago. She still lives in Chicago. T now lives in Canada. The 3 of us were part of this team, wonderful team. We went to New Orleans, 2002, hung out. The first day we get there, we drop our bags, we come out. We all planned to come out and get something real quick to eat, and we had to go to. We said we'll go to Burger King. This was pre-Katrina, right outside the Marriott. There was a Burger King, and we come, and I had known T and Carly for about 7 months. We became good friends, and we were walking to the Burger King, and I said, "Be careful." And they both kind of looked at me like, "Be careful about what?" I said, "Be careful. That's all I can say now. We can talk about it later." And like they all were like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, there are a lot of black people, right? Guess what race Carly and T are? They're black people, right?" That was the moment that I should have, to this day, is probably the most significant moment of my life. When I was talking to 2 of my really good friends and telling them something that was racist, right? So we can talk about microaggressions, we can talk about having good friends and not recognizing the things we do. It was that moment that I understood I had work to do, right? And it's been a 20-year journey since then. So for all the folks in the room, keep that in mind, because what I was going to say was, I was going to ask you all to say, now out loud, "I'm racist." But I know that's going to cause some challenges. I'm not going to do that. But I said it out. You know what I'm trying to get to. But there's lots of work to do and lots of healing to do. And if you don't do this work with love, compassion, and empathy, we're not going to be able to do the work. And I'm going to finish by saying namaste. Namaste is a greeting that we start with in the Indian culture. It signifies the idea that I see the divine, the divine within you, all the goodness within you, but also tells you that my ego bows to you, right? And so with that, I'm going to say congratulations to everybody who did the work, for this ISCORE ISCORE, and for all the students. I'm excited to hear your stories. I'll be here. I'm going to listen, talk. We'll have a great panel this afternoon. But thank you so much. Thank you for hosting me.
Oh, man. Like I said, ISCORE in this experience is an Iowa State experience. And as Vijay said, we're a little off schedule, but I would like your patience and understanding as we move to the second phase of the conference. So this concludes the morning session. There is a change on the screen in location of a session. So mark that in your book and enjoy your conference. Thank you.